Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I thought we'd take a trip down memory lane and have a look at an old tournament, a very old one, from 2016. In fact, my first Hearthstone tournament that I played in, which was the EU Winter Preliminaries thing, which was kind of like a Masters tour back in the day. This match was actually playing for top 8 of that tournament against Tars. We're going to check that out in a second. And this would qualify for the seasonal championship back then. And this was the very first tournament I participated in. I qualified through ladder, kind of accidentally. I didn't even know this tournament was happening until Frozen, who I used to talk to a lot back then, messaged me asking if I was going to participate in the tournament. And I was like, huh? And he said, you qualified for it, but I didn't realize. So I had to scramble for some deck lists last minute to submit them, and ended up with kind of weird ones. I was playing some weird wacky deck lists back then, as I normally do, but people didn't know about it then. And this tournament was closed deck list, so nobody knew what everyone else was playing within the tournament. Even the casters didn't know what we were playing because they didn't have access to the deck lists, I don't think. So it's kind of interesting to see how the game's progressed, and the casters kind of like, what the hell is this guy playing? Another bit of context to this tournament, I was playing on the Americas server back then. That's why I qualified through, and I didn't actually have a European collection, but obviously being from Europe, I was playing in the Europe preliminaries. And at the time they said that if you are on the wrong server, they'll give you a super account to play with. But when it came to the tournament and I got there, they didn't have a super account ready. So I had to scramble a bit, and they managed to give me a fresh account with all the cards unlocked, except for one thing. The adventure modes, being League of Explorers and Blackrock Mountain, were purchased, but the cards were not unlocked. And to unlock the cards from them back then, you had to actually beat the adventure mode. So I had about an hour before the tournament started, and I had to just speed run through both Blackrock Mountain and League of Explorers adventure modes before I could begin the tournament. So while everyone else around me was practicing, getting ready for the tournament, I was just speed running through the single player adventure so I could play with my decks. What's more is the tournament itself was held in a bar in London, at least the UK location was. So it wasn't like a proper strict setting with loads of moderators and stuff. It was just really just a bar with a couple of guys who were kind of organising the UK end of it. So it was a very relaxed vibe. I got a couple of my friends to come down just for fun to support me. So during the games, you might see me like smile and look off to the side a few times. It's probably just my friends cracking jokes off camera. All right, let's go look at the first series between me and Tars. The first game, actually. Here we go. We got the broadcast. We got Robert Wing, Sottle, and Savitz.
Jambre, who we haven't seen on stream just yet, versus Tars. And Tars was a player we saw earlier, had a kind of innovative approach to Warlock, had that Curse of Rafam in his Zoo deck, which we established probably a counter to Freeze Mage.
Right.
Jambre, now, there's some really interesting stuff to talk about with him. So he...
Alright, what were my decks? Now, I know the Paladin was Egg Paladin. Now, this is something that I became kind of famous for back then. It was a secret Paladin deck running Dragon Egg and Nerubian Egg, and everyone else was not running those cards. And they were good because you can put like Blessing of Kings and Keeper of Alderman on them to buff them up. But yeah. Remember, like, the deck lists were closed at this point, so I didn't know what Tars was playing, he didn't know what I was playing. The casters also didn't know what each of us were playing. I think it was an aggro shaman I was playing as well, and I want to say it was just combo druid, which was like ramp druid with Force of Nature Savage Roar, but I'm not entirely sure on that one.
He made it this far by finishing 15th on the NA ladder, and that's how he got into this. Hearthstone is actually the first card game he's ever played, and get this, this is actually the first tournament he's ever played in. He said he had no real expectations, just showed up, decided he was going to, play in a local fireside gathering, see how far he got, and he's made it to the top 16 and is one series away from the Winter Championship next month. How crazy is that, Sottle?
It's absolutely insane. Just we've seen a large majority of upsets between players today, and honestly, we kind of have that sort of David and Goliath thing going on here, because although Tars isn't a huge household name, he is a guy that has won a DreamHack. He's won DreamHack France. So we've got a guy entering his first tournament up against a DreamHack champion. On top of that, it's just a guy with no card game experience before Hearthstone. Like, it's a huge uphill battle for him, but he's obviously shown a great deal of natural aptitude to Hearthstone to be able to pick it up this quickly and be this deep in the bracket.
Yeah, what a story it would be. First tournament ever, the biggest one this year so far. If he manages to qualify to the top 8, that might not be all of it. He might even be able to take it all down.
Right, and that said, we see that Jambre for his decks has brought mid-range Druid, Paladin, and Aggro Shaman. So this is a real ladder champion story. These are the 3 decks that when new season starts, you're like, all right, I'm just going to get to Legend. These are the 3 decks that are just, super fast. You kind of know whether or not you're going to win immediately. And Tars is obviously playing a little bit more unconventional decks, as we saw earlier. So
there we go.
It is funny that they think my decks are normal, but they're really not. I mean, I think the Shaman is pretty normal, which we're going to see from here, but the Paladin definitely is not. But I think they're going in with the mindset that I'm not experienced, so I'm not going to push out the boat. But my style, being who I am, even back then, I went a bit against the curve. All right, let's see this game. We're going to critique old Jambre. There he is, looking a lot younger than me, with a bit more color in his hair. Against Tars. Alright, we've got the Aggro Shaman. I think it's Doomhammer Shaman, this one. Against Zoo Warlock. He's playing Curse of a Farm in it.
Right into game 1 here. We see Jambre opening
we're going first. We've got the Finley and the Totem Golem. That's a pretty good 1-2 curve. So we keep that.
And, Curse of a Farm in the opening
Tars, I don't like any of these. Let's throw them all away.
What do you think about this? How does this play into Aggro Shaman?
Well, it is going to have to be an option between taking damage and developing minions with tempo. You are going to have to invest that 2 mana if you get given it, not developing minions. And the way that Zoo is going to play this matchup against Face Shaman is a race.
Oh, it keeps the Abusive Sergeant. Okay,
so if you
I wouldn't say that's a great keep
between damage and tempo, but
for the Zoolock, but
not a very, very strong card.
He does pick up a good 1-drop instead.
In your opening hand. So I'm not surprised to see him toss it away, and honestly, he'll probably be happy if he doesn't draw it.
Yeah, I mean, there is this small chance that Jambre will overload enough that he won't be able to get rid of it, and then in that case it would be at least 4 damage and still requires that 2 mana. But realistically, just throw it away and hope to never see it again. It's
okay, so this deck runs Doomhammer, so I think generally we used to pick Shapeshift because you would double dip on the damage with Doomhammer. Fire Blast might be better in this matchup just because you got to be killing their minions a bit more. But I think I picked the Shapeshift.
Doing some basic math here. If that sits in his hand for 15 turns, Tars wins the game.
Well, not anymore, because he just took Druid Hero Power, which in fact gives him 1 life per turn, Rob.
We've complicated the math now. This is getting crazy. Speaking of crazy, Jambre's
sipping my Red Bull.
Pretty sick opening start there. He's got that Totem Golem for turn 2. Unfortunately, that one allowed him to play Horse Rider.
Gonna go double 1-drop, I imagine.
After, or if he feels he needs to trade into something like a Knife Juggler or a Flame Imp.
Yeah, both players with almost as good as it gets when it comes
to
starting.
Could go Coin Juggler. It'll just die.
Slightly better than the Finley, but still pretty good starting out with a 1-drop.
Yeah, Rob talked about the strong start from the Shaman, but honestly, this is, as you said, extremely strong for the Zoo as well. Whenever you get to hide a Flame Imp behind a Voidwalker as an opening, you now get to dictate where that Flame Imp goes. Do I want it to go face? Do I want it to take out the minion?
Okay. So, first decision of the game, really. I think it's better to go for the Totem Golem here, slightly. You go Lava Shock to kill the 3-2, and then next turn you have what, like Argent Horse Rider into a 1-3. It doesn't seem very good. I think a bit better to go for the Totem Golem. It doesn't die to the 3-2. Then next turn you could Lava Shock something probably. You get maybe a value trade into the 1-3. But I can understand 2016 Jambre playing the Lava Shock to kill a 3-2. 2 mana, kill the 3-2. Protects your 1-3. You know, makes sense. I think either way we're kind of in a bad spot, but I think the Golem's slightly better.
Right, so the way Aggro Shaman plays, while it obviously has the potential to chain together some spells for high burst damage later in the game, it actually plays very much a ground assault game from the get-go, which is that it wants to get the chip damage in with the Totem Golems, with the Tunnel Trogs, and these kind of minions that will allow it to equip the Doom Hammer, play the stuff like Lava Bursts, and plays very much, I don't know if you guys are familiar, player by the name of LBYS made a mage deck, where it's just a matter of like...
Oh, it's interesting I bump it. Why did I bump it? Is it so the horse rider can trade it and then I got another bit going face next turn? Maybe that was why.
You basically just keep.
I like that bump, old Jambre.
Spells, but it needs to get
There's not many punishes.
before it finishes you off. So Aggro Shaman very
has a
much
good bump, Jambre.
by Voidwalker.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, that sort of aggro freeze mage, very, very similar parallels to this. You just have a couple of Leper Gnomes, couple of Loot Hoarders early on, just to deal a little bit of chip damage, and then you start firing the burn at face, and that is a very similar game plan to Aggro Shaman. So being immediately behind on the board as he found himself there against the Flame Imp puts him in a pretty unfavorable position.
Using the Lava Shock for 2 mana, it's a tempo loss, and this is a heavily tempo-based matchup, so he's a little bit on the back foot right now.
Wait, there's just me eating and then smirking about it afterwards. We're gonna get a replay of that one.
Against the Flame Imp.
Eating some crisp, I think.
Using the Lava Shock for 2 mana, it's a tempo loss, and this is a heavily tempo-based matchup, so he's a little bit on the back foot right now. He had the option to also go Totem Golem instead.
Satisfied with that munch.
Lava Shocks in his hand. He has more options for the next turn, and also no overload.
Right, so while this deck is called Aggro Shaman, obviously it has the potential to just unleash a whole bunch of damage over the course of 1 to 2 turns.
Alright, Taz, what are we going to go for? Are we going to juggler or are we going to abuse the sergeant?
If the taunts are up, you can't really get around those. And Zoo presents a lot of minions that have the potential to do very nasty things, and you definitely want to get rid of those and get those off the board quickly so that you can start doing damage to face.
Right, if you try to play it in a way where you don't trade as the Shaman, you're going to be in trouble fairly quickly because of Defender of Argus, because, well, obviously...
Okay. Now here, if I picked Ping, it would have been a bit better, right? I could have killed both the minions, but sadly I picked the Druid Hero Power like a noob. But I guess in this spot, I guess I'd go just for the Horse Rider. It doesn't feel great there. Could also go Totem Golem plus Rockbiter. That's reasonable too. See what I go for.
Shaman, the Warlock player in that case can keep going for face while you can't.
Right. People underestimate the complexity of playing outright face aggro quite a lot. Sometimes it's not just kill your opponent, it's kill your opponent the turn before they kill you, which is a much more complex proposition because you have to really figure out the trades and limiting your opponent's options and making sure that you just have that one extra point of damage that they do.
Your Taz so lucky, man.
Obviously, there's kind of this idea.
Kept the abusive sergeant in the mulligan, just drilled all them up.
Aggro decks don't really
Can't believe
have a lot
it.
of brain power to play.
Right.
There are certainly some matches, and I've played a fair few
Alright.
of them, especially.
Here, honestly, I think Lava Burst on the 2/4 might be the best play. I'm not sure. The other plays are a bit whack. We could just hold out for drawing Doomhammer and try and smoke them down, but that would require us to either go the Golem plus the Shock so that we're not overloaded, or we just do like nothing. I kind of like Lava Burst the minion,
Face Hunter, where
but we'll see what I do.
Curves and you just go right and you win those games. It's just 3 or 4 turns. You're
I feel
pushing.
like I'm just do this in Hero Pack. Okay,
there are a
yeah.
lot of situations where aggro decks, I would actually wager bold.
It's not great,
in
but
some games
it's all I have.
It's more difficult to play something like Aggro Shaman versus something like Control.
They're a long
Warrior,
way
where
from
it's like,
dying, which
kill
is
the
not
minions, kill
fantastic
the
for
minions,
me.
kill the minions, gain health. Play Alexstrasza.
I mean, you've opened Pandora's box here, Rob. This is a debate that's
Oh,
on
man.
this time. I suggest that we just kind of leave that one to one side.
In-game
for
boss
now.
and the
What I'm
power
hearing,
overwhelming
Salo,
is
is
very
that you're
good
hitting
here.
escape concede on this argument, but we
Okay,
can,
that's
we
fine.
can
Very,
pick this
very
one up
good.
later. Definitely a high point of contention. But
Hey, I wrote an article
Got
that
the
got me a ton
Argus
of
to
hate on
stabilize
Reddit
later.
defending aggro, so I'm actually on
Not
your
looking
side
great
here.
for me.
I'm just saying, let's not talk about it.
Sure.
That's surprising. There's a lot of trading to do. There's some exceptions. Maybe the Hunterists are very keen on going face and never trading, but that's mostly because of the hero power.
Right.
Other classes don't have access to that kind of source of damage, except if you get a Finley and get the Hunter hero power from that.
That's a really good point. And speaking of good points here, Defender of Argus in the hand of Tars. We discussed this earlier, how many fits this can give the Aggro Shaman, and it's something where Jammer's hand is a little bit clunky. He's got that Rock Biter, but without the Doomhammer, it's not going to do a ton of damage. He's got Lava Burst and that second Lava Shock, so he's still kind of at the point where he would like to get more minions. And if he doesn't end up drawing those minions, Defender of Argus could give him real problems.
Whoa, that was so aggressive with the power overwhelming. I was expecting maybe see an attack into the Totem Golem and then Defender of Argus afterwards, but I mean this works just fine.
Right, I think the theory here is that he deals with the Totem Golem outright, and we're not really at the stage of the game where the Face Shaman player is going to be trading with minions from hand. You know, they might still be trading from board at this point, and picking up value trades, but he's probably fairly confident these 2 minions stick around on the board for next turn, and he can just play the Argus with initiative.
Absolutely, like, no matter when, the Argus will be really good. In this matchup, it's one of the key cards. Personally, I would even consider keeping it in the starting hand against the Shaman.
Okay, I don't know about keeping Argus, but yeah, I'm in a big world of hurt here. I think I need to Lava Best 2-4 against the hand that they have, but I don't know if I will do that. I think I'm probably going to play the Ferals, but it's just kind of terrible. It just gets like too much board out of it, I think.
Important.
Right, so obviously Zoo has kind of surged back. There was a point where Zoo was perceived as being one of the weaker decks, and League of Explorers
I need like
comes out,
time
gets
to
some
find the
additional tools
weapon,
and Dark
because if I get the
Peddler,
weapon, I
gets some
can
tools and Bronze
maybe
Bear,
win
and
through
kind of takes back
Rock
its
Bite
position
weapons
as
going
being really
first.
one of those top 10 decks. So a question I would pose to you
But
guys,
we're in a
first,
bad
do you think
spot.
it's more to do with the
Let's
cards
say
from League
that.
of Explorers or the meta surrounding it?
It's a combination of both.
What does old Jambre
definitely
think?
can't underestimate the power of Dark Peddler. That thing is basically an early game curve in a single card. If you have Dark Peddler in your mulligan, you have so much security in terms of relying on being able to draw a reasonable curve for the first 3 to 4 turns. But also we've seen mid-range Druid get incredibly powerful recently and become
Yeah, this isn't terrible, because if he doesn't have a buff, like, my taunts do live.
a really dominant
But he does have a
meta
buff.
deck. And Zoo is just one of the best natural counters to that kind of thing.
Right,
Right.
Svij, any thoughts on that?
And the Juggler's very good. The Juggler's very good here. Juggler, Egg, trade into one it
I
hits.
was looking at the game, I was a little bit focused on that, but I was just like trying to go through all the action. Jambre going for a Lava Shock on a 1-1. I'm a little bit worried for him whether or not he's going to have enough damage if he doesn't pick up a Doomhammer fast.
Right, I think the Nerubian was good for Jambre because obviously it represents some potential issues down the road, but on that turn it's not putting a lot of power on the board. He obviously doesn't know that Tars has Defender of Argus. But
Yeah,
that
it's not
is
looking
something
good.
that, at least on that turn, didn't seem all that menacing. And Leopard Gnome off the top around turn 6 is not necessarily where you want to be, especially when your opponent still has 26 health.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Warlock, the life totals are fairly even right now, but the Warlock has access to drawing those extra cards, while the Shaman doesn't have the same luxury, so I think things are going quite well for Tars right now.
Right. If Jambre had picked up, say, the Warlock Hero Power off his
Okay, I like this play, Jambre. You eliminate the threat,
certainly we might
take a
have more
value
even
trade.
contest where
Opponent's only got 1 trade available into the 2-1. I think we're in a good spot,
they're
but
both drawing
Tars
and
just has
playing,
the one of
2
Defender
cards
of
per
Argus, I
turn.
think.
The Zoo is going to
And
kind of
it's
have
so
to
good
play
here.
ball control and
I don't think I
Shaman's
can
trying
come
to burst
back.
it out, but with the Shaman so quickly running out of resources and only really Ancestral Knowledge in the deck to refill, we're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, just looking at it right now, there's so many draws for Jambre that
I am not not happy with that draw.
do almost
Oh,
nothing
dear.
in this particular situation.
I think you know what? 2016 Jambre actually didn't do a too bad job this game. I think we just ran into the nuts a little bit. I think we navigated it pretty well overall. Pretty well. We put ourselves in a decent spot.
Off the top, and
But this
honestly,
is too
Tars could've held
backbreaking.
that, or held the Defender of Argus the next turn, just really pump
the
up that egg.
greed!
The greedy play, but
Yeah.
even though he's ahead, this is still one of those things you take very seriously. As we said earlier, this is win or go home. Win, you go to the European Winter Championship. Lose, and you're watching from home.
Yeah, and there's a lightning bolt. This is looking so rough right now. What do you do? Do you start lightning bolting a Defender of Argus? I don't know. Like,
All right,
Mental
Jambre, stop
disruption
roping.
comes
The
up
game's
with
over.
cards.
I mean, it's
What did we
Back
do? We
to
did
this one.
just hero powered.
ruled out.
Okay.
He may in fact be playing the old Ellie Giggle Destruction in his deck.
yeah, we actually don't know. It's quite possible it would be in there, but we have not seen anybody during this weekend be actually playing that version.
No.
I think it's slightly out of meta, so to say.
It is a little bit, but it's really like the inclusion of Elemental Destruction in your deck really comes down to the point I made earlier about aggro being a race. It's not just about damage, it's about a race. So if you can just reset a board state to neutral, and you as the face deck are just far more likely to draw damage
These
every
draws.
turn after that than your
Oh,
opponent,
man.
then
Right.
you put yourself in a very favorable position. So I totally understand the dynamic of that being in the deck, but as you said, it seems to have forced its way out, and Jambre seems to have decided that it's time.
Oh man, well, where does he find the
I
remaining?
haven't got
deck?
anything else I can do.
Another lava burst and a
Oh
crackle.
my goodness.
Wow.
That's just short of lethal.
It is, and he has a full board as well, so even tap into, you know, Abusive or Direwolf or something like that would not find him the damage that he needs.
Power Overwhelming, though.
Power Overwhelming would do it, but, like, why would you tap? I mean, I guess why would you tap, but also why wouldn't you tap?
What is he going to draw that does 8 damage?
Right. I mean, Ancestral...
Right, nice. Good game. Right, we're down 1 game, sadly, to Taz. We're gonna do some more of this series in another video. Let me know if you liked it. I can give you some more details of the tournament, a couple of more stories maybe as well. Let me know if you like this content, and I'll see you in the next video. We'll see game 2. Bye.